Harran is an ancient city located in southeastern Turkey. In ancient times, a battle took place here in 53 BC, which went down in history as one of the greatest defeats of Roman army. In it fell 20,000 Roman legionaries, as well as the commander of the Roman army Marcus Crassus. The death of Crassus was a contributing factor to the subsequent civil war in the Roman Empire, the seizure of power by Julius Caesar, and the fall of the Roman Republic. Marcus Licinius Crassus came from a well-known plebeian family, inherited a small fortune, and in the late 50s and early 60s BC had become the richest man in ancient Rome. He acquired his wealth through dexterity as well as through ruthlessness. He seized the estates for nothing of people subject to prescriptions, and used the money so gained to buy skilled slaves, whom he trained intensively. He ordered his men to set fire to houses, which were then extinguished by his private fire department. He would take ownership of ruined buildings and then have them designed and rebuilt by his private slaves. He would then sell such properties for a profit. He also won the influence of many influential Roman citizens through free favors and interest-free loans. He was the political mentor of the young Julius Caesar taking his first steps in Roman politics. He entered 60 BC alongside Caesar and Pompey as part of the first triumvirate. The main idea of the agreement was that henceforth nothing would happen in the Republic that would displease any of the three. Marcus Crassus seemed to have everything a man could dream of: money, fame, and immense wealth. He lacked only one thing: the martial glory resulting from his conquests and victories on the battlefields, something his two partners in the triumvirate could boast of. Caesar conquered Gaul, and Pompey achieved a series of victories in Asia by conquering Syria. So to match them, Crassus decided to conquer the Parthian state. This country, located in what is now northeastern Iran, was ruled by a warrior aristocracy. These mounted and armed Parthians settled in one of the satrapies of the Seleucid state. They occupied this country in 247 BC. They extended their rule from the Euphrates River to the Indus. The capital of their states was Ecbatana. The king was the feudal superior of the mighty, among whom were counted 7 great Pahlavi families. They practiced a folk version of Iranian Mazdaism, but did not persecute any other religion. Relations between them and the Roman state, which was pursuing new conquests, were correct, but not without tension, since Pompey promised to transfer one of the territories to their rule and did not keep that promise. But there was no state of war between the two states. This changed, however, in 53 BC. The opportunity for Crassus to conquer Parthia and make history came when he took over the governorship of the province of Syria in 54 BC. Crassus soon began preparations for the Parthian expedition. In the initial phase, he won several small victories by capturing several cities, leaving several garrisons in Mesopotamia. He returned to Syria for winter quarters with the rest of his army. In the year 53 BC he re-entered Mesopotamia. The march of the Roman army was accompanied by many unfavorable signs. This is how Plutarch describes it in his Life of Crassus. As Crassus was taking the army over the river at Zeugma, he encountered preternaturally violent thunder, and the lightning flashed in the faces of the troops, and during the storm a hurricane broke upon the bridge and carried part of it away. 2 thunderbolts fell upon the very place where the army was going to encamp, and one of the general's horses, magnificently caparisoned, dragged away the groom into the river and was drowned. It is said, too, that when they went to take up the first standard, the eagle of itself turned its head backward, and after he had passed over his army, as they were distributing provisions, the first thing they gave was lentils and salt, which with the Romans are the food proper to funerals, and are offered to the dead. And as Crassus was haranguing his soldiers, he let fall a word which was thought very ominous in the army. "For I am going," he said, "to break down the Ige, that none of you may return." And whereas he ought, when he had perceived his blunder, to have corrected himself, and explained his meaning, seeing the men alarmed at the expression, he would not do it out of mere stubbornness. And when at the last general sacrifice the priest gave him the entrails, they slipped out of his hand. And when he saw the standers by concerned at it, he laughed and said, "See what it is to be an old man, but I shall hold my sword fast enough." The Parthian king, when Crassus entered Mesopotamia, was preoccupied with dynastic matters, so he entrusted command to Shurna, a local prince who stood out for his military talent. He dragged Crassus' army deep into the Parthian state, avoiding a pitched battle, while rightly believing that the Parthians would gain an advantage on the plain with their excellent heavy-armed cavalry, called cataphracti. The cataphracti, as very heavy cavalry, had little effectiveness in forested and marshy regions. On the other hand, they excelled in the vast plain terrain, an area where a pitched battle with Crassus' army was to take place. It occurred near the town of Carrhae, now Harran in Turkey. When the pitched battle occurred, the Roman army was weakened and demoralized by the long march across the desert. The Romans stood no chance against the Parthian army, which was well commanded and operating in convenient terrain. At the very beginning of the battle, Crassus' son Publius was killed. After the first day of the battle, Under cover of darkness, part of the army led by the legate Gaius Cassius Longinus fled the camp and returned to Syria. Crassus, lured by a ruse to peace talks by Shurna, was assassinated. Crassus' head was first shown as spoils of war, but was later sent back to the Parthian king Orodes. During the Battle of Carrhae, some 20,000 legionaries were killed and 10,000 were taken prisoner. The latter were settled in Sogdian in the eastern part of the Parthian Empire. 7 legion insignia fell into Parthian hands, the return of which was only negotiated by Emperor Augustus in 20 BC. This defeat was in fact never fully avenged by the Romans and went down in history as one of the greatest and most embarrassing defeats of Roman arms. It also had indirect long-term consequences for the internal political situation in ancient Rome. The death of Crassus was a decisive event in the disintegration of the system of three, as Crassus was the person who balanced the great ambitions of the two great leaders, Pompey and Julius Caesar, which less than 5 years after his death led to civil war and the collapse of the Roman Republic. But that's a topic for another story. For now, thank you and feel free to leave a thumb under the video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.